we're now going to start adding weight and mass to the various parts of our character's body. Before we start, we're just going to quickly reset the root of the skin modifier here. So, as we created our character earlier, or we extruded down, you might be able to notice that it's got this little red dashed circle around one of these vertices. That means the root. And we don't want the root of the model to be in the foot. So what we're going to just quickly do, we're going to go back to this pelvis area here, click on that vertice, and over in your right panel here, in the skin modifier, we're just going to click mark root. What that's going to do, that's going to reset the root back to that center point. Alright, now we're ready to start adding that weight. So, seeing as we're here at the pelvis point, we're going to start here. So I'm going to use Control A to start increasing the mass here. So Control A, and as I start pulling away, it starts adding weight to this area. So I'm going to keep going until it does around about that. So you can see this is starting to form a bit more of a substantial character rather than just a stick figure. I'll do the same here just for the chest. Just pull it out and round it out. That looks about right for me. I'll do the same for the shoulders. It's not too bad. Now, the first thing that's going to happen here, or the first thing I've noticed here, is that this point here is basically where the base of the neck should be. So it's a little bit too high for me right now. So I'm going to press G, press Z, and just pull this down just a little bit, so it's a little bit more natural. That's better. We're going to ignore the head for a second, because that's going to require a little bit more effort. And I'm going to go down to the legs. So I'm going to increase the mass on these hips just a little bit. Maybe a little bit more down the leg, the feet area there. That should do. Now that I've added this mass and I've added a bit of weight, I think the gap between the legs is just a little bit too much. So I'm going to reduce that just a little bit. So I'm going to grab those points, just pull them in. To there. I think that's okay, I'm happy with that. And generally, I think the shape of that body, that's okay. That's good. Now, the shape of my character's body could be drastically different to how you want your character to look. So it's important at this stage, don't necessarily just copy what I'm doing. You want to make sure that the shape of the character is appropriate for whatever it is that you're making right now. Whatever your character should look like at the end. So I think I'm happy with how mine looks just for the second. This isn't the final part. We can change this a little bit later. And in fact, I'm going to do a little bit with the feet in a second. But first, I'm going to address this head. Now, if I click this vertex at the very top and increase the scale here, it's going to apply this weight unevenly, and it's going to look almost a bit like a mushroom. So if I try that, you can see that it almost comes to a point. It's actually not as drastic as I was expecting, but it's also not perfect. If your character is supposed to look like that, however, fair enough, keep your character like that. However, I want mine to have a more rounded head, at least for now. So I'm going to use Control R to loop cut in between these two vertices. So if I press Control R, you'll see that there's a little yellow vertex there, and if I click, that'll create that vertex. Now, I can press G and Z and move that vertex just down a little bit, and then I can start moving these about a little bit. Now, if you're not happy with that, that's not too bad. Potentially bring that down just a little bit. That's okay for a shape. I may go to the neck and just pull that in maybe just a little bit. Now again, if you're not happy with that still, you can still add more loop cuts. Add another one in, and then that rounds even more. So maybe that's a little bit nicer. So there's actually 3 vertices there, which I'm using to get the general shape of my character's head. But I'm happy with that. That's okay, at least for now. The last part I'm going to address here is the feet. So most people's feet won't look like this. They won't bend unnaturally. So what I often try to do, I often try to put a bit of a heel in. So I'll do the same now. I'm going to press Alt Z just to have a look here. Okay. So I've selected the vertex just at the back of my foot. I'm going to press E to pull out here. Now straight away that's a little bit too big. So I'm going to use Control A just to loosen that a little bit. Maybe pull it down. That's okay for now. I think the foot actually needs to come out quite a bit as well. We'll say that. Yeah, that's okay. That's not too bad. So feel free to have a play around with these kind of things, alright? What you can also do, you can use Control A and then specify what axes that you want to actually smooth this on or shape this on. So if I now use Y, it'll affect only that axis, which that looks a little bit nicer. Just going to bring that down just so it's got a flat foot there. I'm okay with that. That's not too bad. Maybe it's a little bit too thin, actually. Bring it up just a little bit. This is a massive part of this process. Just trial and error, trying different things, and finding out whether or not you like the overall effect. Massive part of Blender. I'll do the same for maybe the back heel there. Just bring that around just a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's not too bad. Let's press Alt Z, just have a look around. That's okay. I think that's definitely at least very identifiable as a humanoid figure. So that's a nice basis. It's a nice place to start with now. So continue with your model. Keep playing around with it until you're happy with the general shape, and then you're ready to move on to the next video where we're going to start adding some finer details such as hands, maybe a head, and anything else that you want to add. I wouldn't recommend creating hands using the skin modifier and subdivision surface modifier like we are currently, just because I think it doesn't make a very realistic looking hand. So we're going to do that manually in the next episode. So yeah, once you're ready, once you're happy with how your character looks, you're ready to move on to the next episode.